Today, I want to talk to you about not a context engineering technique, not a prompt engineering hack. Today, I want to talk about something much more human, and that is the impact of working with these systems all day long. The general trend I'm seeing, which we'll call token anxiety, agent anxiety. Basically, it's this ever increasing feeling that you should be doing more work with your agents, which is interesting, but I've experienced that myself. And then a separate but intertwined problem I'm going to call the information asymmetry problem or cognitive debt, right up here, right, where there's more information than you can feasibly, there's more information being produced by your agents than you can feasibly produce. So those are the main two topics. The way this video is going to go, I'm going to talk about those topics, talk about this problem. Excuse me. Um, I'll talk about the historical context because, interestingly, this is not the first time these have actually come up, and they're not unique to AI. I'll talk a little bit about how I'm experiencing these problems myself and how I am working through them, and that'll be it. All right, so let's get into the video. The two-line didn't read of agentic anxiety is a feeling I've been having. This is something I've been doing for a few months now. I have Tailscale on my phone, which means I can SSH, so I can basically I can talk to my laptop from my phone, and from there I have a terminal on my phone, and I spin up Cloud Code agents in between batch bot sets at the gym. Uh, that is the agentic anxiety. It is FOMO. Um, uh, General anxiety that your agents are never doing enough work. So these two articles are from Twitter. One is this little, short post here about saying, "Hey, I feel like there's mass opportunity cost." And the other one is saying this is a real trend that they're seeing, surprisingly, right? So surprisingly, everywhere in San Francisco. The general the general way I think about how this fits into this cognitive debt, where there's always more information um, that these systems produce than can be reasonably parsed through by a human being. This is the way I think of it. So, since the printing press, we've always had more information than a single human being could read through, more or less, right? This has always been a problem, so much so that people were talking about solutions to this in the 1940s, which I'll get to in a second. Um, but I think it feels different now because for two reasons. One, it is a more intense version of the existing problem. So not only is there this pre-existing information asymmetry, it is now pressing in that you can have more information that's unique to you about your life and relevant to your problems than you ever could have before. In fact, you could have an infinite amount. Um, and that kind of fits into the general issue with not general issue. I think the lie of optionality, the endless scrolling, dating apps where you can swipe left. There's always another person. There's always another video. Now there's always more information that's relevant to your life, or there's always a new problem to solve, or this general seemingly infinitude. Um, I think that's the broader context, or one of the bits of it. Um, the other half of that problem is it feels more existential this time. I think the reason it feels more existential for many people is it's tied up in the hype and fear cycle of AI. So, what is AGI? Is the AGI around the corner? What's it going to do? How's it going to change the economy? How's it going to impact me? It feels like people are racing to escape whatever the um, maybe negative implications of this really big unknown boogeyman that is the looming AI wave. So, unknown things are always far more scary than something we can know. I think that's the core of it. So it is the intensification of an existing problem we've had for a while, tied up in the emotional side of this new technological wave. So that's what do you, let's say that, let's say that's the conceptual side of it. But I think on the visceral experience side of it, um, it it shouldn't be surprising that consuming that much information and making these rapid judgment calls in context switching across so many different unique work streams is mentally exhausting. Um, I think we take for granted how just new that mode of thinking and working really is. So I said, since the printing press, there's always been more information than an average person could consume. Well, before that, the vast majority of human history, it was just boredom. Information came from other people. Information, entertainment came from oral traditions, and there was no four storytellers telling you a different story at the same time, and you had to talk to each one concurrently, which is basically what you're doing when you have four Claude Code instances or whatever agent instance is um, running, and then you have to go back and prompt them and point them in the right direction. Of course, it's going to feel overwhelming. Just because you can do it um, doesn't mean it doesn't cost anything. So the visceral side of it, feeling mentally taxing and feeling. So actually, let me show you the other part of this. I put a post up about this, the cognitive debt part, and my buddy Andreas commented, like, "Yeah, I'm so glad I don't feel alone in this." Um, Specifically, more referencing the cognitive debt problem. But I think the cognitive debt problem is very much aligned with the um, just the general anxiety problem or general mental tax problem. We're like, whoa, it's a lot. I just did a ton of work. It's really hard for me to even know where to go and review all this. Um, and I just want to the thing I want to focus on this part of the video is to say, hey, like this, that's normal. It's not insane. I'm saying this just as much for myself as anyone else. It is not insane to feel like you were going insane processing that much information and making all those decisions all the time, because that's not just a natural way of being for most of human history and you're a human being. The ironic thing is that I think we don't think it is odd, because at least for me in my generation, I grew up playing StarCraft and like other first person shooters and stuff that I basically trained rapid context switching and basically ADHD like thinking. So I got kind of good at it, right? But it still is taxing. The very nature of the work itself, context switching all the time, like fast, right? Along with the general existential vibe and the real historical problem itself of the information asymmetry. Um, that's why it feels so existential. All the things are coming together into this mess, this general vibe of, oh, everyone else is working really, really fast across a lot of very deep, intense projects. I need to be doing the same thing because it seems like everyone's really worried about something or excited about something or whatever. It is just energy in this singular direction. Um, that's where that's going. But to take a step back for a second, I want to talk about the historical context of this problem, because it's actually not the first time we have had this problem and tried to build solutions out of it, basically. Vannevar Bush was an extraordinary, prolific American businessman, inventor, scientist, I guess you'd say politician, because he led up the U.S. office for, basically led the national effort to get the U.S. scientific community aligned and working on the right stuff to win World War II. In this article right here, as you may think, is saying, hey, like scientists, we won the war. Now what are we going to do? And he talks about a bunch of different stuff, but one of the big things that he talks about in this article is this endless information asymmetry. So he's talking about like Mendelian genetics, right? He said that would basically be lost if we weren't able to find it. Publication, so to quote here, publication has succeeded far beyond our present ability to make real use of the record. The summation of human experience is being expanded at a prodigious rate, and the means we use for threading the same consequent maze to the momentarily important item is the same as we used in the days of square-rigged ships. So he's essentially saying we have all this information and we have no way to effectively parse through it. And his solution is something he called the Memex, which is down here. I kept the ads in the screenshot because I wanted you to see how, like, this is old. This is from 1945. And it's basically like a microfilm based cloud code obsidian. That's not actually that, obviously, but like he's basically describing, hey, you can like have your little note, and then you can tag it to a different note, and like create these like this knowledge graph. I just thought it was so funny reading this, seeing that one, like, this problem is not new, and they weren't able to solve it with technology then, and I don't think it'll be able to be solved with only technology today, even though we have like what I would assume Vannevar Bush would think is like a miracle, like a technological miracle. Um, so why am I telling you this other than like as a fun historical tidbit? I'm telling you it for a couple of reasons. One, I want you to feel like if you're feeling this way with the information asymmetry, the agentic anxiety, like you're not alone. Other people are going through this. You're not insane for feeling it. And it may not actually solve that problem, but it does make it feel better. At least in my experience, it has. So that's that part of it. Um, and then the historical part is meant to contextualize, like, you are part of a very long chain of human existence. And there's a lot of wisdom in past generations, and we can learn from it. We can learn from the mistakes and borrow their wisdom. And I think it's just that almost more, maybe a little more intellectualized version of that. Hey, like, I'm not alone in this. This is a real problem people are having, and it just so happens. So we have our two problems. We realize we're not alone in them. Now, like, what does an actual solution look like? I'm going to break it into strategic and tactical problems. I'm going to focus on, excuse me, not problems, solutions. I'm going to focus on solutions that are by and large focused on you, the human being. So I'm putting myself here, right? Human being. Instead of saying, well, you need more agents to increase your visibility in the system, or you need better logging. Those are all things that I'm actually working on for my own systems. But that's not the point. Those would be technical solutions to technical problems. And we're trying to focus on the mental solutions here. The strategic problems, or excuse strategic solutions, which I will start with, is basically accepting finitude of I'm going to die with stuff to do on my to-do list. And that's scary, maybe, however you think about mortality. It's also clarifying because it really helps you think about, well, is this really the most important thing I could be doing right now? Both across this specific project, this work, this engagement, is this the best way to create value? And also, should I be working right now, or should I be out to dinner with my girlfriend and my family? Whatever the question is for you, find a way to 80/20 it. And that doesn't mean not listen to your curiosity. It means lean into it even more. But just accepting that truth, I think, will really help you find clarity. And the second part of it is finding stillness. So modern information environment is like this like ruthless competition for your attention. Intentionally taking time away to find stillness is super, super important, because you are, if you want to like game it for yourself, you are recreating the boredom, the space to be bored, which most of human experience, historical human experience had, right? Before we had that information explosion. Going on walks, meditation, stuff like that, just making sure you have time to be bored and be okay being bored. And you don't have to think about necessarily being bored. I don't. It's just space to be still. And getting into the like more tactical, or the next tactical thing, I think curating your own information feeds. So that's what I've done with this thing over here, right? This is I built a AI system to monitor Twitter, monitor some newsletters, and synthesize that into a holistic report on everything context engineering for me. It has been really, really impactful for me, especially avoiding like the Twitter algorithm or anything else like that, where it's meant to optimize for engagement versus learning. So it's going to show me something that's really cool about AI, and then some like after curating your own information feed, I would definitely say training to switch in between that rapid context switching. If you're going to be using your 5 different Claude codes, training to switch between that rapid context switching and the stillness. So singular deep focus, the active version of that is writing, it's painting, it's whatever that creationary active creation is. Switching between StarCraft and CS:GO, which is Claude code, and I'm just focusing on one thing, and it's continuous, right? So writing is a really good example of that. Switching in between those things, I think that's a muscle you can train, and you can build that baseline. So the attention, flexibility, and mental capacity are the 2 parts of what I call like building your um, baseline expertise or ability. So the attention flexibility is like, hey, I just need to be strong and fast in mental capacity for me because I'm designing, context architectures, context operating systems, data pipelines, whatever you want to call, whatever thing you were working on. It's basically systems thinking. In being able to actually close your eyes and talk through the system is like your sport specific skill. So we're doing work in the gym, squats, sprints, all the stuff like that, and then your skills. So you're practicing passing a soccer ball, whatever, for soccer, or throwing for football. Um, I think those are the like super tactical versions that you can actually like train and practice for. And then finally, it's like giving yourself time away. Um, I already mentioned giving yourself stillness, but the time away is basically is basically for your subconscious to be able to take all the stuff you've been thinking through and work through and develop a specific point of view or taste. And the reason that's so important, one, it ultimately always comes down to taste, or it always has. But now, as execution is getting commoditized with execution for most knowledge work, now it's down to what's the right problem for the right person? How can I solve it in the right way to create the right value at the right time? If it's for a business outcome, for example. But it's like that intuition and then being able to execute, being able to get that into your systems to execute on it is, I think, what the name of the game is, or from my point of view. So that's how I'm thinking about this problem. I think the last super tactical tip I would say is if I'm going to do a ton of uh, high context switching code work, I cannot touch social media beforehand. I just, for whatever reason, like doing the consumptive context switching just totally throws me off. The proactive, like creationary context switching. So yeah, those are the tips. I hope it was useful. So just to kind of sum it all up, I think we have 2 pretty interesting problems that are plaguing the AI bubble right now. People working in the AI bubble, and one of them has been a long-standing historical problem of information asymmetry. There's always more information um, than a single person could ever parse in their lifetime, and there is the basically uh, productivity FOMO that is agentic anxiety of, oh, I always need to have my system working for me. And I think the core solution to that is accepting, hey, like I can't do everything. What do I actually want to work on? And then really cultivating a unique perspective on what's the right thing to solve for the right reasons, and then the actual then technical expertise to get your systems to solve those things for people. Um, yeah, so that's it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks so much for your time. I really want to know what you think.